The information provided in this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials available in this podcast are for general information purposes only.
Welcome to another episode of SME and You, a podcast hosted by Athliance, where we talk with subject matter experts in the name, image, and likeness space. Our goal is always to educate and protect student athletes in this new world of name, image, and likeness. Student athletes have been fighting for this right for 115 years. It's about damn time they got this right, but we need to make sure that they're doing things that are correct, not getting taken advantage of, so they can make some money and profit the way they always should have. So we have a really awesome guest today. And I say awesome because he's a mustache brother like myself. I've been on his podcast before. He's got a very sweet, sweet accent. Tay Hawker from Hawker Family Sports and Entertainment, or we're going to start calling that HFSE. Tay, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on. And then a big shout out to the new mustache I have. I'm a proud mustache owner now.
See, now your mustache looks great. Mine is connected to a whole bunch of other facial hair, but it's still considered a mustache. So I still consider myself going with no shave, November. So I'm in. But I got to say, I haven't seen you with a mustache before. The mustache works. It plays. It is in play.
There's a lot of people that have been disagreeing with you this month, so I'm gonna need that audio and then start showing it to my friends, because I haven't had the best feedback from females specifically. I'm a big fan.
I was gonna say, what did your mom say?
My mom hates it. Mom hates it.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. So Tay, I know who you are, but talk to me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and how you got involved in name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, so I moved to the States when I was 18 on a rugby scholarship, and immediately was thrusted into the life of an international student athlete, which is vastly unique. And I studied at Lindenwood University and got my bachelor's in sports management with a minor in political science. And then while I was at Lindenwood, I did a bit of work for the St. Louis Blues and the St. Louis Rams in facilities, corporate partnerships, and scouting. So already starting this multiple area career that I was getting into. I graduated from Lindenwood. The Rams had already moved to LA, but I moved to LA with the LA Clippers and went into sales with them. So again, touching a different department. I identified that I had to go back to school to keep on an F1 visa to stay in America. My dream was to work in American sports since as far back as I can remember. So to keep my dream alive, I had to go back to school to stay on my visa. And so I managed to get into Arizona State University to do my master's in sport law and business, which was an absolute blessing. And I'm skipping over a lot of the small stories of how I ended up there. But I started at ASU and was working in the Office of Student Athlete Development. And then at the same time, I was working in player development up with the Texas Rangers. So at this point, I've ticked off all four of the major sports and the NCAA, and trying to basically find my home in American sports. It was pretty difficult, given that with all the visa restrictions and stuff, I can't just work anywhere. It was a lot of free labor. And then I graduated from ASU and fortunate enough got a position with Old Dominion University and overseeing student athlete development. And this was really when it was before that it really clicked that I enjoy helping student athletes specifically. I had spent time in the pro space, worked with pro athletes, and they certainly they need the attention, don't get me wrong, but student athletes are in a different world of needing support. They're busier than ever. They aren't a regular student, far from it, in fact. And I really enjoyed helping them, grow up and be the best young men and women that they can be, and mature, and watching them evolve and everything. So I absolutely loved being in the student athlete development space, and also watching them use sport as their vessel for that. And then with name, image, and likeness, that was a very unique happening. I obviously knew that student athletes deserve to have the right to at least have the opportunity to go out and make money. Did I think they should be paid from the university? That's a different discussion that, once
don't go down that path. We only have like 45 minutes.
Right.
We'll be here all day.
That's a different discussion. We'll stay on NIL. I absolutely believe they should have those rights. So when those conversations started coming up, I really started pushing the parcel of trying to develop some sort of support for them to help them get ahead. And at the same time, I identified that the NIL space is a very modernized area. It's social media, it's branding, it's digital creation, it's this very modern approach to how we generate income now. It's not really, and a huge part of it is entrepreneurialism, but the spice of it, I should say, is this modernized approach. So I identified that I had unique experiences with all these different areas, along with a network of young people that kind of fit this NIL world. And then I also identified that the college space wasn't providing the support for the student athletes that I thought they deserved. So that's how Hawke Family Sports and Entertainment started, as a solution for college athletes to be able to get personalized support on how to develop their image, to be able to generate income, and how do you do that ethically and be able to pay your taxes and everything. So it became this like full service sports agency for college athletes. However, we developed very quickly, and with doing that as a young entrepreneur, you kind of have to identify that when good things happen to you, you kind of have to grab them with two hands. So we've quickly ended up in this space where we have the professional world, we have the college world, and then we have Olympic athletes as well. So we've got these kind of three different silos that are happening, and I can delve into that.
Profiting off of your name, image, and likeness is really tied to how you develop your brand. Mm-hmm. But I don't think everyone understands how much work goes into building a brand, and that oftentimes you see these social influencers that have millions of followers. That didn't happen overnight. That didn't happen on a magic platform. A lot of work went into that. Can you talk about what it means to build your brand and the importance of putting the time into building your brand?
Yeah, so building your brand comes down to how much you can get the public, the general public, to buy into you as a person. And that can often mean a lot more than just being a student athlete. So something that student athletes need to keep in mind is, and it's a question that my sponsorship coordinator, Phil Posley, asks all of my clients. He has a meeting with them, and he says, if you strip away student athlete, you take that away, you never played a sport in your life, who are you? And that stumps a lot of our clients. And so it's something that they need to start thinking about, because often they have to build this bigger reach of people that find them funny, relatable, someone that they want to be around, because they need to start reaching. If they want to, like you said, if they want to make money off their name, image, and likeness, they need to build a reach that is bigger than just being a student athlete. That's just simply how it is. They can certainly use that as a platform. Their highlights are important. It's super cool that they play a sport. It's a platform to springboard them, but they then have to start generating a following that goes outside of just being a student athlete. And that's the biggest one, because we've seen the winners in NIL out of the gates with the big names in sports, certainly. But when you're looking at 500,000 student athletes now, and every one of them has an opportunity to build that brand, it takes some effort. When you look at that kind of effort, it means, daily posting, replying to your comments, engaging with fans, doing Q&As, getting on your live. It's an everyday thing. You need your face in the public, and being your fans or your followers or whatever need to feel like they're a part of your life too. Because when you start tuning into dollars and cents, it's very important that it's not just people that just follow you, it's people that like you and want to engage with you. And if you can come out with merch, they're like, I want to wear that merch. It needs to be more than just a follower. It needs to be a fan or someone that's really bought into your life. So to bluntly answer your question, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort that goes into that.
Now, I think the misconception of name, image, and likeness was this was going to be for the quarterbacks, right? This was going to be for the big names. Can you talk a little bit about who can profit off of their name, image, and likeness, and what they need to do, whether they're a star athlete or not, to have the ability to reach fans and develop their brand?
Absolutely. And you're right. It is for everyone. At the end of the day, anyone can create a brand. And like I said, those different things that stand out is how relatable you are, and to be transparent, how good looking you are. What's your, and that's just not on your physical look. It's your style. Are you stylish person? How funny can you be, and all of those kinds of reasons. And I haven't mentioned anything about your athletic ability yet. And so that doesn't necessarily come into it. We've seen people across the board, D3 through D1, be able to generate income purely off their following base. Some of our clients, we've got rock stars athletically, don't get me wrong, but there isn't a clear trend off their athletic ability to their social media following. It's their ability to, get out there and I say get out there and get involved is kind of what I'm saying to a lot of my clients, is their ability to, like I said, interact with fans and really develop that following base. Because here's the thing, when you turn around onto my side, right, I take the analytics of everything and I go to brands. And that's, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we go to a brand and the brand looks at the person and the analytics. Do they like the person off the jump? They look at their socials, our media kit, all that kind of stuff. And then they look at the potential ROI. How much can they turn their investment? Because it become like, we want to talk about the glitz and glam of NIL and, going on live and having thousands of people messaging you saying how pretty you are or how good you played or whatever. That is the glitz and glam. But then on the other side of it, we need to convince a company to invest in you, move part of their marketing budget into pay you to go and do X, and then they need to see a return on that then too. And how do we measure that? So not to get into like the two nuts and boltsy of NIL, but there's a massive world out there that we have to cover too. So it's something that student athletes need to keep in mind, is that your numbers matter at the end of the day. If you buy your followers, you've automatically lost NIL. It's embarrassing, quite frankly, because if we turn around and run, it's very easy to figure out. I'll tell kids now, if you're listening, it is very easy for us to know if you're faking your social media, because we run out the analytics on it and it comes up glaringly obvious when you have falsified your social media data. So I can rant all day about this kind of stuff, but it's to be able to grow your brand, it's super important to create genuine relationships with those fans.
Don't buy followers.
Yeah. Rule number one.
So Tay, we hear this phrase personal brand all the time, and it's kind of just thrown around. And I'm not sure everyone understands what a personal brand actually is. Can you talk about what a personal brand is and the importance of it?
So what I use this is the analogy I use for personal brand. It's like, and now it's kind of outdated because we online shop, but pretend you're going to a shopping mall, or for the new kids, a shopping center or something. I don't even know where people shop anymore. You go to a shopping center, you're not online, and you're walking around, and there's some stores that interest you, there's some that don't. You know what you're getting when you walk past a Kate Spade, and then you walk past a Dick's or whatever. You know what you're getting in those stores, and then there's some that you haven't seen the store before, and you're like, oh, that looks interesting. Or you see the store and you're like, that looks like a kid's store, I'm not going in there, whatever. Now let's flip that. You're walking through a shopping center and you see the Spencer Rattlers of the world and everything. You know what you're getting. You've seen them before. They've got a developed personal brand, much similar to Dick's and Kate Spade, etc. And then you go past some more stores and you see something. You're like, oh, that could be interesting. I've never heard of the name of that store before, but it looks like stuff I'm interested in on the window. You haven't been inside yet, right? You're just looking at it. You're like, oh, could be interested. I might head inside. And then once you're inside, you got to do the whole capturing process of making them want to stick around and do the whole shopping thing. And then, but on the other side of it is there's some stores when you walk around those shopping centers and you're like, oh, it looks cheap. It's something I'm not interested in that. It's not my niche, whatever it might be. Very similar to building your personal brand. It's those immediate reactions when people see you. Do they see your logo? Do they see your face? Do they see some color schemes? Do they see a message you put out? Are you very into social justice issues? Does that hit something that your follower might be interested in? And maybe that creates a tighter tie with your follower. Whatever it might be, it's very similar to shopping. So on your personal brand side, you have to start looking through, thinking about, the immediate reactions that you get with your follower. So whether that be, if you want to just talk social media out of the gates, you got to look through your bio, your profile picture, any links you have in your bio, and then your grid as well, making sure your face is on your grid so that when I go to your Instagram, you've got me for about 1.5 seconds at best, that you've got to get my attention and make me stick around. What is your personal brand? If I look at your page, or if I even meet you in person, it's the same thing when you meet someone in person. Are they bubbly? Are they quiet? Are they extremely intelligent? Are they very eloquent in the way they speak? That's all your personal brand, because your brand essentially is everything about you. Sometimes it takes a long time to get deeper with some people, and that's still their brand. If they explain the meaning of life to you, that's very deep. It's still part of their brand, but it takes a while to get there. And so, with using the same analogy, that might be like at the back of the store, something that you have to really dig to be able to find that stuff about someone. And in some other cases, it's just like the window shopping side of getting to know someone. So that's probably the best way that I've been developing what a personal brand is. And like I said, the biggest thing is you have to create something that A, people want to come in and shop, and then B, you want the right people coming in to shop as well, because you want to be able to actually catch them once they get inside, and then ultimately buy something. And that's how we create money.
No, I love this because, all of us are on social media and we follow people that interest us. And I think we all think it's easy to be a social influencer and people just post things. And what I'm hearing from you is a lot of thought and work goes into developing what people see in order to correlate with you and really resonate with you. And it almost sounds like a full-time job.
It absolutely is a full-time job. I can tell you that. The upside is that if you want something bad enough, you can have a full-time job and a full-time job and make it work.
I love it. And it goes into the normal saying of the more you put into something, the more that you'll get out of it. And I think a personal brand certainly falls into that category.
Absolutely. And that's something that I stress on my clients as well, because I can ask I can tell my clients what to do, but in a scenario like this, I don't control the brand of any of our clients. I train and give consulting, etc. But it's like leading a horse to water. I can give them all the information in the world, and this goes for anyone listening. You can read listen to as many podcasts you want, to read as many books, but it's not until you actually implement it and start putting it into motion that you start reaping the benefits of all that information.
It's called personal for a reason, right? It's yours. You've got to make it your own.
You got to go do it.
In the NIL space, why is a powerful personal brand important?
It's everything at the end of the day. The student athletes aren't getting paid off their athletic ability by the universities or anything. It's how much they can go out and generate on their own. And I really stress that they learn the power of what they can do here. If you play the NIL game right, you realistically can set yourself up for a lifetime of success, both financially and your personal brand. You can build a platform that can set you up for the rest of your life. So the biggest thing that on that side that I want student athletes to understand is that you don't need to be phenomenal at your sport. Does it help? Yeah, no doubt. But it's not a necessity anymore. The bench player can make more money than a starter within the NIL space. And that's just the realistic, fact of the matter.
We talk about it all the time. Marketability drives NIL, not performance. Performance is just a factor of marketability, not the end all be all.
Absolutely.
All right. Another question for you. How can a personal brand improve visibility and messaging for a student athlete?
So that's something that I talk about a lot, is that your personal brand essentially can put you on a platform for building out what you might want to do. Now, that might be your sponsorships and endorsements, etc. That's the obvious one, is like, use my discount code, whatever. But the other two areas that I really stress is that you can both build philanthropy and entrepreneurship very easily through your personal brand. If I have 1 million followers and I start a GoFundMe to, get stationery for a high school, it's a good thing for you to do. And I have 1 million followers, I'm going to get a lot more stationery than I am with 1,000 followers, a lot more. And then same goes on the other side of it. Let's say I start, I'm just looking for things around my desk. I've got a hand sanitizer here. Let's say I wanted to start a hand sanitizer company, and I'm a student athlete, which is great. Start your businesses, have a go. I want to start a hand sanitizer company, and I have 1 million followers. How much more hand sanitizer am I going to sell with 1 million followers in comparison to 1,000 followers? It's night and day. And so the biggest thing to come back to on that is that you might be building your brand for whatever reason right now, but the multiple ways that you can transcend that into different areas and different opportunities down the line all the way to the point, and this is a reach, but it's still something that I think needs to be said, is that if you do want to go pro in your particular sport, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, whatever, if you have a massive following, teams are not naive to how much that you can bring to their roster. So you might not be that good of a tackler. You're on the cusp, okay? You might be kind of good. You are still more attractive than the guy that doesn't have any followers at a similar level. Like, that could be the thing that will bust you over the edge. And it's a very new age approach. And I'm sure there's scouts in the listening saying, "Oh, BS." I was a scout. I was in the scouting room. We're not naive to those kinds of things. It is definitely on our mind. So, you talk about the philanthropy, entrepreneurship, sponsorships, and endorsements, but also taking yourself to the next level is a very possible outcome to building your personal brand and having someone that you want on the roster. And then to kind of cap that all off, your personal brand enables people to know what they're getting too. And when it comes to hiring and everything, the biggest battle, and I've been in positions of hiring, the biggest hurdle is, do I know this person? And that's why recommendations are so important. A resume is important, sure. A degree is important, absolutely. But most of those kinds of things are teachable. Like when you come into a job, I want to know, do I like this person? Is this someone that I want in my office? Your personal brand speaks to that. And if you can have a big enough personal brand out of the gates, you got a better chance of getting hired too, because people know what they're getting out of you. And this guy's awesome. I've watched his videos. He's hilarious. I want to hang out with this guy or this girl. That shows the magnitude of your personal brand and how it can transcend into your life a lot more than I know a lot of student athletes out there don't take it quite as seriously. They're just like posting some photos with their friends and how drunk they got on the weekend or whatever. And they're missing such an opportunity in 2021 when we utilize we can utilize our personal brand for so many bigger purposes.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a personal brand, if done right, can be an interactive resume that kind of boosts you into, the next step of your life after being a college athlete.
That's exactly it.
So we've talked about all the fun stuff and the good stuff of building your brand and the importance of it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But unfortunately, mistakes are made.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the common mistakes student athletes are making when it comes to personal brands?
Out of the gates, there's two. Aligning yourself with bad brands is the biggest one. And then making fatal errors when it comes to sharing opinions that you should not have shared in a public space. So the first one, aligning yourself with bad brands, not doing your research and getting caught up by the glitz and glam of whatever they may offer you. Brands have immediately come out of the gates and enjoyed flashing shiny things in front of student athletes and getting them to sign on to deals and thus hurting them in the long run. So that's the first one. Be very cautious of who you're aligning yourself with. If you sign a sponsorship, even the FTC supports you on this, but you have to believe in what you're selling. You have to actually enjoy the product. That's a law. And then the other side of it is people can get carried away on social media, get a bit excited, reply to a TikTok comment, and might get people riled up. Now, you can utilize this in a positive light. Absolutely. You can get some people fired up and push an agenda that you might believe in, and that might be something that you're passionate about. And all credit to you. I think everybody should have their own belief systems and share their opinions however they want. That's their prerogative. It can hurt you though, and so you have to be pretty careful how to kind of walk that tightrope, because we are in a position now. If you do have a platform, you don't get to just be as polarizing as you want and not expect to lose half the market. And so the idea is that you kind of want to walk this tightrope where you please everyone and everyone likes you. And that's the dream, certainly. We've seen in the past, and don't worry, I'm not using names and ideas or anything, but we've seen in the past that you can swing it one way or the other and see significant success because people really buy into you for doing that. And that's, again, your prerogative. But if you do that, you have to acknowledge that you're going to violently lose the other half of the market, and that can be concerning too. So I'd say the biggest mistakes that you can see is aligning yourself with a bad brand, and then being too polarizing or saying something you shouldn't using your platform.
Yeah, as it pertains to the polarizing aspect and saying something you shouldn't. When we talk with student athletes, I think it's important when you talk branding, there is the who and the what, right? The who is you, but the what is your brand. And when you become a college athlete or you become an influencer, those two things converge. And you have to be very careful about what you put out there because you're being judged not only on who you are, but what you are as a brand. And it can really negatively impact you, even if it's how you truly feel. And I'm not telling people to suppress themselves, but there's a sliding scale,
Mm.
and there's consequences to all actions, both positive and negative. You mentioned something earlier, which is the importance of aligning yourself with the right brands and how entering bad deals or entering deals with brands that don't align with who you are can really negatively impact you. I think that also applies to aligning yourself with bad representation. We've seen a lot of student athletes take deals that they should have never done, or that impact their brand negatively because a manager or an agent brought it to them and they're just trying to get this kid fast money, to make themselves look good, but it hurts them in the long run, right? There's
Mm.
a short term and a long term. Talk to me about what student athletes should be looking for in a brand manager.
Oh, I love this. Thank you for giving me the platform to answer this. There's a lot that goes into this. I will say and shout out to I'm kind of going to plug myself really quickly in this because why not? But one of our clients, Drew Watson, she's a wonderful gymnast down at Auburn University in Alabama. I got coffee with her recently, and we were talking about why she signed and everything. And again, credit to Michael Duderstadt because I wasn't in the onboarding process of bringing Drew in. So it wasn't me per se, but it's the culture that we've developed at HFSC. She said that she chose us because we were the only agency that spoke to her that wasn't talking to her about all their numbers and everything. It wasn't all about what we're going to make and X, Y, and Z. What I push at HFSC is the person themselves. We do a lot of time researching who they are as a person. We talk about what are they like, what inspires them, who inspires them. Again, with what I mentioned earlier, if you strip away student athlete, who are you? What do you enjoy in life? We go down to what are the products you use in the morning to get ready, and everything. So we try to identify the person as best as we possibly can. So to answer your question, and I will say that warmed my heart more than anything that any client could ever say to me when Drew said that we cared about her as a person, except over top of all the numbers and everything, which the business cares about, but we don't want to put that on the client. So that was really cool to hear that from her. And it's something that we talked about as a business and we're going to continue to install. And, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, we continue to remind ourselves what Drew said. That's why we've got 21 clients in a short span of time. And the fact that we've got a soft cap now, we're trying not to take anyone else. It filled up that quickly because of that reason. We care about the person first and everything else kind of falls in place. So when you are looking for an agent or a brand manager or whatever you want to use to push yourself ahead in the NIL space, you need to find someone that likes you, that you guys get along, the personality's good. It's someone that you want to text, after school and just catch up. How was school? That flip you did at gymnastics, was that good? I have a point of talking with my clients about things that aren't NIL related. I hate the idea of our relationship becoming all NIL. It kind of scares the living daylights out of me. So I want, I guess, little brothers and sisters, because I'm kind of at that age where I can't say father, daughters and sons yet. But we are trying to build that family there. So the biggest thing is someone that cares about you personally, and that kind of answers the example that you used. But then on the other side of that too, to get kind of nitpicky, you want someone who's licensed. Make sure they're licensed in the state that you're in. It's huge. And then licensed with the association that you look to be going to, whether that be NFLPA, US Soccer, whatever that might be. Make sure they're licensed. Understand why their background, because the NIL is a new space, so you can't really expect them to be experienced in NIL that just started. What in their background makes them good for this job to manage you? Perhaps if they don't have direct experience, do they have a creator, to the digital creators? Do they have help there? And then sit down and make a list of the things that you want to do in this space, and make sure that their agency or their agent can fulfill those things that you want to do. If you want to coach, does that agency have someone that can help you run a coaching clinic? If you want to start a YouTube channel, does that agency have experience in running a YouTube channel or monetizing a YouTube channel? You need to make sure that your goals are aligning with that agency, because at the end of the day, all these agencies are vastly different, and they all have different specialties and unique areas. So obviously those more black and white things, you can tick the boxes to say they do that, and that. But then, like I said, the overarching thing, do you like them? Are they someone that you want to grab a beer with or grab a coffee with? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's someone that you need to trust, because you start talking dollars and cents, and I pay my clients and all of that kind of stuff. Because when you get a deal, the money has to go somewhere. When you start talking finances, you need someone you trust. So that's probably the best way I can explain the multiple different areas of things you have to consider when getting an agent or a manager.
So I'm going to recap this.
Yep.
This is the Tay Hawker guide to picking the right brand manager. You have to trust them. It has to be someone that's built a personal relationship with you. It's someone that has gotten to know you personally and understands you personally, because we're talking personal brands. The individual should be licensed. You should look into their background to make sure they're the right fit for you and they don't have any red flags. You want to make sure that they have a good team behind them to carry out the vision of your personal brand and your outcomes. And you want to find someone and a team that is focused on your goals and align with your goals. How did I do?
Spot on.
All right. Perfect. Now, we've gone over what you want to look for in a manager or a representative. But how do you know once that relationship is started? How do you know whether or not your manager or representative is doing a good or great job?
That comes down to you as the client. And it's a two-way street too. And so now that I get to speak on the other side of it, the client does have a responsibility to push the parcel too. We can provide as much information as we possibly can, but we don't run the social media accounts of any of our clients or and do anything on that extra part. I will say this: if you ask for something and it's not done, red flag. And you should have a week. Give them a week, and if you don't at least have an update in a week, like let's say a client asked for me for something and I'm working on it, but I don't have the outcome in a week, but I'm going to call them and be like, hey, this is where we're at in this process. If you ask for something, you don't get it, that's the red flag. We have some clients that are very laid back and, we don't hear from all the time, but we always check in with, and that's fine. But as long as that agent is providing information and checking in with you. And that's also the other thing, checking in with you as a person, watching all your games, texting you good luck, the little things. They're all the things that that the agent's doing a good job. But like I said, it is a two-way street. So if you ask, you've got to be using your agent too. You can't just sit on your bum and think that they're just going to be give, because it gets to a point where the agent's kind of emptied everything they've got, and they're like, okay, what do you need? What do you want? We can't answer all those questions. So you have to be giving some information back too. This is what I'm looking to do. Little things like, hey, Tay, I'm really fascinated in this company. Do you think this could be an opportunity for us to create a sponsorship? Or, hey, Tay, I have an interest in doing Q&As on my Instagram. How do I get the most people tuning into those? Those are the kinds of things that you can actually get value out of your agent. And then, like I said, on the other side, if they can't answer those questions, or if they aren't answering in a timely manner, because I'm not trying to throw agents under the bus too. Sometimes they don't have the answers. Let them go away and find the answer. But if they're not actively working for you on those sorts of things, then that's when there's some red flags there, and you might need to start looking elsewhere.
All right, so I'm going to try to recap that as well.
Okay.
How you know whether or not your representative is doing a good job. Do they communicate with you regularly? Do they show you attention both personally and to your brand? And are they getting you the outcomes you want? But remember, when it comes to the outcomes, it's a two-way street. It's not just your agent. You have to partake in that as well as a student athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it right at the end. The important thing is that you have to work with your agent too. And it's not even work, it's really just telling them what you want, so that it's easier. It's like having a girlfriend that doesn't know where she wants to eat. It's like, what do you want? So yeah.
I think we can all relate with that. I think a lot of student athletes, as NIL has started, are deciding whether or not they should have representation, if they're the type of athlete that falls into the category that someone would want to represent them, or when should I seek representation? So that's the question. When should a student athlete hire a personal brand manager or representative?
I'll be blunt and say that not everyone needs an agent, and not everyone should want an agent. An agent or a brand manager, sorry, and for anyone listening, I'm using that interchangeably. A brand man, not everyone needs a brand manager. It comes down to the excitement and enthusiasm for the student of the student athlete wanting to get into this space. You have to identify that you have to work in this. You have to be on your socials. You have to be making TikToks, and which sounds comical because not a year ago, making a TikTok was a quarantine hobby, and now it's a business. So you've got to be making those TikToks and Q&As and developing all those sorts of things before you should want to bring a manager in. If you don't have any interest in any of that space, and it's not something that excites you, you don't need a brand manager. You're not going to be involved in this space. And so that's something that I think they need to consider is, do they want to be in this space? Now, on the other side of that, when should you, to answer that question? I would say as soon as it starts impacting your day-to-day, if it starts impacting your grades, practice, stress levels, sleep, whatever it might be, once it starts impacting your day-to-day, that's when the brand manager needs to step in and help. Or the caveat to that is when it starts getting too confusing. When you look at a contract and you're like, I don't know if this is good. I would argue anytime you get a contract, get someone to look at it. Even if it's a parent, that's fine. But there's a good chance a brand manager needs to step in here, both for safety, make sure that the contract is a good contract, and then on the other side of it, that you're getting the value you're worth. So there's I would say the point is that once you start signing deals, you need someone to look at it, even if it's passive, that they just look at a contract. Heck, I'm happy if any student athlete in the country wants someone to look at a contract, I'll do it for free. I don't care. If it's just scanning a contract to make sure that you're safe, send it over. But someone needs to be looking at those sorts of things. So the when is when it either affects your day to day, it's you're losing sleep or whatever, or when you're starting to get nervous that you might be signing something you shouldn't be.
As a lawyer, I approve all of those messages. All right, so I've got two more questions for you, and we're going to have a little fun here.
Cool.
So here's the second to last question. What are some great personal branding examples that you've seen since July 1st when name, image, and likeness started?
Oh, I wish you'd let me prep for this because there are so many student athletes crushing it. There's many cases where I'll tell you this. I'm just going to toot the horn of my own clients for a little bit. Sydney Solosky, Utah gymnast, phenomenal. She's great on all of her socials. She's got a unique brand image that she's obviously an athlete, but she's a very stylish chick too, and uses that especially on her Instagram. Case Hatch, we're growing it, we're working on it, and Case knows this because I bugged the heck out of him for it. But Case is one of the most unique guys in college football, in my opinion. And his personal brand is very much outside of football too. He loves, as I say, blowing stuff up in the desert, riding dirt bikes, snowmobiles, etc. He's a very interesting guy. So that kind of stuff is unique too. Some examples on a larger scale. I think we have to. This isn't necessarily. You've asked good, but this might not be good. There are some cases where some guys almost blew up too quickly and became. And are you going to ask me bad examples too? Because I can save these if you.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I've seen some cases where people are blowing up too quickly and have become a walking billboard or the back of a. You remember the back in the day when we'd get to the end of magazines and it was just adverts?
Yeah.
That's where some athletes look like that right now. So not a good thing because no one ever sat there and they must have been very bored if they sat there and read through the advertisements at the back. So I would say that. Now, if I talk about industries that have done a good job, the gymnastics industry or sport in general has done a great job in NIL. They're very good at building their personal brand. I think it's because naturally they're performative. They are putting on a show when they get out there and compete. Their sport is performative, and so it's natural for them to be able to put themselves out there and develop that personal brand. So I would say if you look at any of those major athletes in that space, Livy Dunn's a no-brainer, but I also think that she's got such a big platform now that's a little bit different in her case again. But some of her teammates are doing a great job too. And so I would say that those cases are the ones that stand out significantly of doing a good job to build their personal brand.
Awesome. So this is the last question I ask of every guest that comes on here. If there's one thing a student athlete should take away from this podcast, what is it?
It's time to get to work. I'm going to say that. It's time to get to work. We're in a position now where you have an opportunity right in front of you, and not to get too philosophical, but when opportunities get put right in front of you, you have to grab them with two hands. If you aren't this way inclined and you don't see yourself becoming this way inclined, and when I say this way inclined, I'm talking about, taking selfies, making TikToks, speaking to the camera, the little things that used to be really cringy. If you can't switch your mind into I use this term dollars and cents a lot. If you can't switch your mind into realizing that you're developing fiscal income, then this might not be your space for you, and that's fine. But if you are you got two hands, grab this, because we've got a massive opportunity right in front of you to develop your brand, and it's time to get to work.
Tay, I love it. All right, you've been awesome. I think you can help a lot of student athletes here. So tell everyone listening where they can find you.
Absolutely. So normally I plug myself, but I think as a small business owner, it's time to start plugging the company. So you can go and check out Hawker Family Sports and Entertainment, which is a full service, both professional and amateur and Olympic agency, where you can find us at hawkerfamilysE.com or on any of our socials. We're going to be hawkerfamily.se on any of those, or you can email me directly at tay@hawkerfamilysE.com. Any way that you want to get a hold of me. If you do want to find my personal Instagram, it's just tay.hawker, but go check out the business first. It's way cooler than me.
Great job, man. Every time we talk, I learned something new. I'm in the compliance space, right? So I'm always looking and reading and finding the bad actors in the space, right? And it's just really refreshing to talk to one of the good guys and know that there's people out there that really do care about student athletes and care about them building their brand long-term and not just trying to make a quick buck off these kids. So I commend you. Great work. You're a thought leader in the space, and just keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right. And that's a wrap for SME and You with Tay Hawker, talking brand managers, brand representatives, and building your personal brand. Hope you all out there learned some good stuff today like I did, and look forward to talking with everyone or seeing you all on the next episode. Have a good one.